the river. Underarts, the mysteries of two hydrogen molecules attached to an oxygen molecule. Underarts, inside the earth. In the hours of the night, dead men tell no tales. Memories of old Onbilligkeit. The dazzling sun intrudes through the foliage. Wind whispers, Davos, glittering, gleaming pearls. The generous lucky, a divinity, they said. When was that? Like glass beads, the water wells up, like pearls, glittering in the sun. The source is sacred. Remember Davos, who protects it. The flow, the beginning. Dark river, Tam Ara. The ancient ones were makers of glass beads, glittering bracelets. They were makers of etched pottery. The vases and bowls keep the water. The beads reflect the flowing light. There was a time when poets kept the secret, transmitting it from mouth to mouth. In the owlight, I see them return, water searchers, searchers of knowledge. They look for the source, and they search the munding, mouth and meeting place, space of merger, mixing water with water, recurrent fusion, active unity. That's all gone. Even fortifications are different now, but archaeologists and historians still speak of oppida and look for traces. A concrete structure left in the landscape is covered by plants. The painter said that bats hide inside. And so the oppida are gone. Water, fire, air, the soil, the trees, and other plants, the animals and people exist. All forms of life still sacred. But who believes it? Who acts in consonance with this tune? All forms of life still sacred, even though the rulers forgot, and the ruled do not dare to remember. And yet we see the golden foliage, silvery reflection on the water, more eternal impression than all the gold, silver bronze, coltan, and rare earths that men crave for. Forget the images on TV. Branches, boughs of a tree in front of me. I touch the bark, finger it briefly before I head on, stumbling cross stumps, a pipit's call echoing in my ears. There are those who ascribe to them a religion centered on ethics. They respected nature, I read, and they studied it. And holly, mistletoe, and Groves of oak trees exist, hence the divine everywhere. The triskele points to the third. The third links the opposites. Ask Hauser. Transformation matters. Ask Drunxe. Ask Cage. Ask old Karl Marx. Wechselwirkung. Interference between what is different. Affects day and night, heat and cold, attraction as well as rejection. The river was rectified. It brought large floods. There was a time when woodlands, streams and lakes were their temples. They cherished the creative principle. The old gives birth to the new. Brecht could have said that. Mao too. Okay then, be a bard, know the tradition. Returning to the conqueror's account, I read of large fortified settlements. None remained. Even the graves are forgotten. O rulers of another time, your golden collars, golden shores, where are they now? Buried in the dust with your ashes. Where the vine grew centuries ago, a wall of ironstone protects the orchard with its apple tree. And the poet, did he too speak of those protected by the yew? And wasn't it Hecataeus who thought he knew the secrets of the North? Take care, not everything you read is buttressed by factual experience. As for the yew, eat the seeds, not the berries. In the old times, people were salt miners, makers of iron tools, craftsmen who worked with precious metals. They were glass makers, traders and farmers. Then came clothes making and vanished again. But did you see the brewers along the Arbalie and the Fisher Street and the quay in Diest? And the trees further away, lined up in regular fashion along the riverside? Once they fetched the water upstream for their blackish-brown barley brew and discarded the dregs, mostly a mass of spent yeast, further downstream. It turns the water gray, white, and foamy. The entrepreneurs were good at making money. And by the way, the Volksgesundheit kaputt machen was just a side effect, never intended. But they didn't care. And the priests taught young kids that much. The socialists are of the devil, my dear. It left the people sprakelos. Epilogue. 50 years ago, we would skate from Aschot to Diest, the man said, like a lake That's how it was. Ice on the flooded meadows and on the river. It was a paradise for youngsters like us. Today you look in vain for nature here. It changed so much. And yet he discovered it. He painted it. And you, his contemporary, you see too the willows by the water, groups of trees studding a meadow. You encounter the watermills. You hear the silence of secluded spots. You listen to cries of birds. But how much will still be there for others to see in a decade? They had houses. They think they beautify the village when they modernize. The landscape changes, and it always did in every century for thousands, for millions of years. Nature has its ways, its dynamics. Man always intervened. Is he wiser today? The Morse alphabet of birds, understood by ornithologists, they say, but these men of science would deny the loud thank you that the wren emitted when he sang his song in front of the kitchen window after I took him carefully from the mouth of the cat. Today, in this fast-changing century, our minds are distracted by the flood of data, some relevant, some not, that are showered on us. Cities change so fast, and countries, continents, even faster. You encounter forests barren and clad in ghostly gray after years on end of acid rain. The highways eat up endless acres. The trains accelerate and compete with planes. Oceans are turned into strange sites full of dumped debris. It forms vast islands. It settles in darkness. It drifts. What is a river if not a dewdrop on the rose that we call our planet? Property is what you may do with whatever you like. And we have always seen ourselves as owners, haven't we?